Welcome. Welcome to the Iowa City Community School District School Board meeting on Tuesday, January the 10th. My name is Chris Lynch, and I call this meeting to order. Thank you for taking an interest, for those in the audience and those on TV, taking an interest in our district business. I'd like to start tonight by introducing those at the table with me tonight. To my right is Superintendent Steve Murley, then Directors Lori Rotland, Phil Hemingway, Brian Kersling, Latasha Deloche, Paul Rosler, Chris Liebig, and Recording Secretary Kim Colvin. And of course, Happy New Year. The public is reminded if they wish to speak, they need to complete a speaker form found at the table in the lobby and turn it in. During community comments, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed at non-agenda and agenda items shall take place at the beginning of the meeting during the community comment section of the agenda. And the first item on the agenda tonight is our student representatives. Do we have our student reps from City?
Happy New Year. Hello. The Lucy's are back. All right. So, City High is doing Dollars for Scholars this weekend. It's a performance from both City High and West High show choirs. And it will be held tomorrow, actually, in the City Opposite Auditorium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for students, and we would like to invite you all to come out and see our fantastic show choirs perform together for the last time this season.
The City High Dance Marathon will be held on Saturday, January 21st in the City High Cafeteria. Proceeds from the dance will be donated to children undergoing pediatric cancer treatment at the University of Iowa, and the theme for this year is 80s.
Our girls basketball team is undefeated this season, 11-0, and currently ranked number 2 in the state.
This year, students will register for next year's classes solely online. City High is offering a unique program for next year called AP Capstone. By completing the program, students are eligible for an AP diploma, and to earn the AP diploma, a student must receive excellent scores on 3 or more AP tests, as well as complete a research paper on a topic of their choice.
And our Sparkle cheerleaders received attention from a nice article written by the Press Citizen during winter break, and we'd like to thank them for their positive notes. And the Sparkle cheerleaders are students in the special ed, and they got the opportunity to perform with our cheerleaders.
And last, next year City High is offering a new choir elective titled Hear My Voice. The program is set up to encourage underrepresented students to explore music outside the realm of classical choral music. That's all we got.
Great. Thank you, Lucy and Lizzie. Thank you. West High?
Happy New Year. So we're in the midterm of our second trimester with our midterm grades being printed today, and we start our parent-teacher conferences tomorrow. Students ages from freshmen to juniors are registering for classes next year, either to West or to Liberty. Both our boys and girls basketball team went 2-0 last week. Our boys team is playing Linn-Mar away tonight, and both of our show choirs are competing at Linn-Mar this weekend, as well as performing at the Dollars for Scholars event tomorrow at City. Our newspaper, the West Side Story, was recently named today a distinguished site by Student Newspapers Online. We're the second student newspaper in the country to be named a distinguished site this year. And our staff also won the prestigious George Gallup Award for excellent online coverage. West High's Dance Marathon is this Sunday, and we're trying to break our record from last year, which was $95,000. We're celebrating MLK Day this Friday. We have 4 guest speakers, several videos, as well as several classroom discussions planned. Junior Junhee Lee was runner-up at the Who Wants to Be a Mathematician competition, which is one of the largest math competitions for high school students. It took place in Atlanta, Georgia this past week. Our Student Senate donated over 6,000 pounds to the Coralville Food Pantry. And then finally, and probably the most publicly, the ABC News show The View visited West High last Friday. Kristen was there. 8 students, as well as myself, were interviewed by co-host Sunny Hostin and former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken. This segment is discuss the political climate and overall feelings post-election in public schools, and is scheduled to air tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Tate? All right, thanks again to our high school leaders for, and just our students for, that was a great update, and there's just so many good things going on at our high school. It's unbelievable, so thank you very much for the updates. Next on the agenda is ICA update. Brady?
Hi, Brady Shutt for ICEA, President Lynch, and other directors, Superintendent Murley. Just a quick update. Legislatively, we appreciate the work you're doing on with your priorities, full and adequate funding of schools. We saw 2% for 2 years coming out of the governor's condition of the state. We would, of course, love to see that a little bit higher, a lot higher, but we're hopeful that we can reach that for the 2 years. Extending SAVE and committing those monies exclusively to schools and not taking anything for water quality. We can do water quality in a different way, and then alleviating some of the unfunded mandates. We would also, as an organization, we're firm believers in the value of Chapter 20 and what that's done for the state of Iowa since 1974. So we really hope to see that preserved as is. And I have to say that we as an organization like the ability to have a self-funded health insurance plan. We have a fantastic committee. We met last night. Craig Hansel and Les do a fantastic job leading that, and we have some great discussions. Tough decisions are made together. So we're hopeful that as a district we're able to keep that going. I'd also like to say on your work session, I appreciate that we have substitute teachers on the in that sub shortage that the state is facing as one of the items. That's a high-level concern item for teachers, and I'm sure for parents and students as well. So we appreciate your attention to that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Brady. Next item on the agenda is community comment. Thank you for your interest in the Iowa City's Community School District and for your willingness to share your comments. You're reminded to give your name, address, and the topic you wish to speak. During community comments, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed at non-agenda and agenda items shall take place at the beginning of the meeting, which is now, and shall be limited to 4 minutes per speaker. The initial community comment period shall be limited to 1 hour. Remaining community comment, to the extent necessary, shall take place at the end of the meeting. To the extent you are commenting on items not on our posted agenda, the board may ask follow-up questions of speakers, but is prohibited by Iowa open meeting law from responding to questions from speakers or engaging in substantive discussion regarding non-agenda items. And first up is Riley Valdez, and on deck will be Neely. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Riley Valdez, and I'm speaking on behalf of the 23 students that are getting moved to West High District that got rejected from the Liberty High open enrollment. So recently we made the decision that students in the West High District can't transfer / open enroll to attend Liberty High School next year, which may have seemed like a good idea at the time due to the estimated amount of people that will be graduating in 2021, but you have no idea how this affects some of the kids at North Central Junior High. There are many friend groups that are getting split up and getting pulled to 2 different high schools. Also, I'm an 8th grader and this is my second year at North Central. My school has a great effect on my life. North Central is a great school and a great community. It breaks my heart to know that this is my last year being with these kids. Next year, some kids over in the Wickham District are going to have to start at a new school with people we won't know. It'll be hard for some of us to make new friends. Also, this isn't really convenient because we have a little time until we start signing up for classes. We all thought it was okay for us to transfer to Liberty, and for us to not be able to be part of building this new school is really sad. Speaking of convenience, for me and a lot of other people, I'm way closer to Liberty than West. I live 4 minutes away from Liberty and 12 minutes away from West. Also, if I went to Liberty, you wouldn't have to be paying for busing because if I went to West, I'd be riding the bus, and at Liberty, I would be getting a ride from my parent. Last, if you think there's going to be too many people at Liberty, then why do people from Solon and Clear Creek and Manna get to transfer, not us? They aren't even part of our community. It isn't fair and it isn't right. Thank you for listening. Sincerely, Riley Valdez, 8th grader at North Central. And also, our school, North Central, made a petition, and we've gotten 280 signatures.
Thanks, Riley. Thank you. Neely? And on deck will be Elsie.
Hello. So the people from Wickham that have been declined to go to Liberty, I've been going to school with them for 9 years, and I've been around them, and they've influenced me in great ways, and I'm really sad that I now have to say goodbye to them. At first, I also think it's not fair that you guys at first said that they could go to Liberty and that we'd all go to high school together, and now that we can't because you've declined them. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Neely. Elsie? And Haley has to be up next.
Hi, I'm Elise Siri, and I went to Wickham, and I currently go to North Central, and in the fall, I'll be attending West High. These past 3 years have been full of a lot of things, and I've been told a lot of different things by the school board. When I heard I got to go to Liberty, I was so happy. These past 3 years, I've been stressing about it, that I've been, I'll go to one high school, and I'll totally be taken out of everything that I've known. And when I heard we got to open enroll to Liberty, I felt so relaxed and happy. And then all of a sudden, it got taken away. So now I have to start over in high school, and I've been the new kid. It's not easy. And I'm going to imagine that high school will be a little harder to make new friends than it was in second grade. So I hope if there's ever a fourth high school that no kid would, that this would be planned a little better, and that no kid would have to say goodbye to their friends, and then we could all go to the high school we want.
Thanks, Elise. Haley? And Janice will be up next.
Hello, I'm Haley Hested, and I'm also speaking on the districting. I've been going to North Central for 2 years, and I'm writing in concern of the decision made for districting for Liberty High. Originally, I was given the option of being able to transfer to Liberty High School in the fall. The option was recently taken away from me at a school board meeting. I went to elementary at Wickham, and I feel like I am being punished for that. I've made many new friendships with classmates at North Central. I've been involved in volleyball, basketball, track, student council, a library assistant, and Fuel Up to Play 60. I'm a good student, and I am a positive role model to my classmates. I have excelled at North Central, and I do not want to be separated from my peers. There are only 23 incoming freshmen who want to transfer to Liberty. Don't you think those students should be able to get a chance to go to high school with their friends? High school is a very hard time to change schools. Everyone has their cliques and groups, and not everyone is very welcoming. Also, I know of cases where students are being able to transfer into Liberty from different districts. So shouldn't, since we are in the district, be able to transfer into our different schools? You guys are trying to even out how how different kids are going to different schools, and that you don't want uneven amounts of numbers of kids at schools in different years. But how is 23 students going to affect classes that's only going to add about 1 or 2 students to each class period? And when I turn 14, I will get my school permit, and it will be much safer for me to drive to Liberty than West. If I drive to Liberty, it will take me 6 to 10 minutes, and if I drive to West, it will take me 12 to 20. I hope you consider my request to transfer to Liberty High School in the fall instead of West. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellie. Janice Valdez? And on deck will be Jen Greer.
Hi. All along, our family has been in support and said we'd be willing to support whatever your decision was, and so you gave us the decision to open enroll, and we chose that. We took months to weigh it and actually decided to split our students. Our son is going to go to West, and we were going to split our students up because we feel it's the best decision for our daughter. And we've petitioned that, and you have that information. And so from where I'm sitting, on behalf of the other 23 students, it feels like discrimination to let some kids transfer into Liberty but exclude these 23. To me, it's either all or none, or you've got a discrimination case. We wouldn't be here, and this would not be an issue if you wouldn't have given us the choice and taken it away. We put so much time into making the best decision for our child, and we seriously, if we're separating our children, and then you took it away, so now our student thinks that this is not the best decision for her. If you would have said, you have to go to West, we would have supported that, and we would have managed towards that at our house. And now we have to manage towards her going to a school that she doesn't think is the best choice for her. And our schools have been operating with hundreds of students over capacity, and for an Excel spreadsheet to say that 23 kids are going to break the bank, It feels like you're cherry picking 23 kids' futures, and it doesn't make sense to me that the best interest of the children are at stake when those 23 kids are being excluded, but yet you're gonna allow kids to transfer in from Solon and Clear Creek. What message is that sending to them? And for me, it seems like it's a financial decision and not an actual best student decision. And I think that it's 23 students, you're breaking them up from their childhood friends, and that doesn't make good sense to me. So thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Janice. Jen? On deck will be Heather Young.
Hello, my name is Jen Greer and I live at 1670 Grizzly Trail, and today I want to talk about overcrowding in our school district. As you guys know, I've been kind of a advocate for the north side and the west side, and I'm here today to talk about my 3 boys who have spent 13 years at Penn Elementary, not the entire time. They've actually moved on and matriculated to the next level. But long story short, I've been a parent for 13 years at Penn, and I appreciate the new addition that we had at Penn, and I do want to talk about the 4 temporaries that we had there. That was, every single one of my kids went through it, and many of my friends' kids did too, where they had to go outside without, gates or anything like that. So I'm appreciative of the fences that we have and the additions that we have now, and we don't have to have classrooms outside. One of the things that I wanted to chat about, though, is that at West High, I have a junior now, and we have, I believe it's 10 temporary buildings at West. And where I'm going with this is that, I'm super happy that we're having a new high school this fall. Liberty will be wonderful. Our community is thrilled about the progress. Its doors are opening this August. I voted on that in 2007. So I'm super happy that it's taken 10 years, but we're getting it, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm your #1 advocate for it. But one thing that I'm concerned about is that the North Central Junior High is not quite the size that it needs to be. Southeast Junior High is 800 capacity. Northwest Junior High is also 800 capacity, and the capacity for North Central is 505. So I don't know if you guys realize that or if you guys look at that number, but I think that's an important number to know. Today, we have 557 kids at North Central. So last year we had 504, so that's an increase of 53 students in 1 year. So we don't have time to wait for our new addition that we have, even though I appreciate that it's coming. We don't have time to wait for it because it's not going to happen until 2021. So I don't think we have the seats that we need now for the kids that we have now when our principal is asking for temporaries next year at North Central. And I don't hear Northwest or Southeast getting that in the near future. So one thing that I would like you to ponder or consider is that the FMP is coming up. We need to make some changes to the FMP. And that would be one thing that I would really like you to consider to move ahead. Also, one more thing about the classrooms that we have at North Central. We usually have about 32 kids in each classroom on the average in all the core classes, no joke. So, and I have a kid that actually made it that wanted to do choir this year. Usually he's a sports kid, but he wanted to do choir, so I was super excited about that because I'm a choir person too. And they have all the 7th and 8th grade boys together, which means there are 50 to 60 kids, boys, in one classroom at a time being squirrely. So yes, we've had behavioral issues. Yes, it would be nice if it was separate, but that's just a special. That's not even a regular core classroom. So I do want you to consider the growth that we've also had over the past 6 years. We did have, let's see if I can find my number here. Nope, I don't have it. Long story short, I'm just worried that 800 for Northwest, 800 for Southeast is great, but let's move up the project that we have for North Central because Liberty High is ready for them, and I honestly think that we could handle the 23 kids at Liberty High, and I think that's something that you should also consider about moving the transfers to. So I would like you to reconsider that. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jen. Heather? And on deck will be Jan.
Hello, my name is Heather Young. I live in Iowa City. I'd like to draw your attention to the handout. It is a press clipping from the Iowa City Press Citizen article entitled School Superintendent Undeserving of Pay Raise, dated 5 days ago on January 5th. In it, authors Carol DeProssi and Caroline Dieterlein give 4 solid reasons Steve Murley should no longer be superintendent of our district. Number 1, Murley was paid to complete his PhD, which he hasn't. Murley has created an atmosphere of fear in the district by undeservedly firing employees. Number 3, during Murley's tenure, the Iowa City School District has been cited 3 times by the federal and state Department of Education for gross deficiencies in special education. Number 4, Murley's master plan blows chunks. It burdens the school district for decades with buildings we can't afford long term and cripples students' ability to walk to and from school. My personal favorite part of this article is when they write, what motivated the 4 prevailing members of the school board, Chris Lynch, Brian Kirschling, Latasha De La Roche, and Paul Ressler, to approve Murley's contract extension to 2019. Total compensation for 2017 and 2018 exceeds $500,000. What has Murley done that is worthy of that? What Murley has done is not address student concerns about discrimination after the presidential election. Murley could have written a district-wide letter from the superintendent that reinforced existing policies against bullying. Murley could have instructed every principal in every junior high and high school building to have assemblies on this issue. Murley could have talked to students and the press. Instead, Murley did what he's always done. He left it for the school board to deal with. After students marched in Iowa City streets and on Interstate 80, then were featured in the New York Times and spoke to this board, not one of you asked Murley why he didn't act on this issue. Why did he leave it for you to deal with? Where were you, Core 4, that voted for his raise? Why didn't you make him do something about this? Why did you let him make you be the bad guys? You didn't deserve this. And if you think for 1 second that this bond is going to pass, you're out of your minds, because I've talked to so many people, and the problem with the bond isn't that we don't appreciate we need schools and we need more room and capacity. The problem is we don't trust him. And that's an issue because it's going to prevent this bond from passing. And I don't know how you're going to get around that. The last problem is, of course, why is Murley keeping Carmen Dixon? She is like certifiably the worst special education superintendent in the history of ever. I've lived in a lot of school districts, and I've never lived in one that has been censured 3 times in less than 5 years by state and federal entities. That is bad. And I can't believe that you're keeping Carmen Dixon. Why hasn't Murley fired her? I don't understand this. How bad does someone have to be as a district employee to get fired here? How many kids have to be hurt before something changes? I don't understand this at all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Heather. Jan?
Good evening. My name is Jan Sayada. I live at 1965 Highview Road. Highview Road. My son is an 8th grader at North Central. He also went to Wickham for elementary, and he's one of the 23 kids who wanted to transfer into Liberty High. I also have a 7th grader at North Central. I have been very frustrated with how things have been done. I understand that it's a very hard job that you guys have with these decisions. As a family, I kind of accepted that we were going to be sent to West. And I also told Fred, my 8th grader, that he was probably going to have to go to West because of regionally the boundaries. Then you had the discussion about setting the rules 80%, 95%, open it up to transfer. So I sat down with him and I said, okay, I really need to know what you want to do. And I'm going to give you the choice. And he wanted to go to Liberty, which I understood because all his peers are going to Liberty. Then I was surprised at the board meeting when things, when we filled out the paperwork and things got changed. I asked wrote the board 2 years ago to send the Wickham kids to Northwest if they were going to West, so they would have it go with their peers, because, you know, at junior high is an important time that they're not trying to, parents' influence is decreasing where peer influence is increasing during junior high. And so the peers that they develop at the junior high and high school level are important in their life. And it's just not academics. Fred is very good at academics. He'll be fine at West, he'll be fine at City, he'd be fine at Liberty academically. But peer-wise, you know, really he doesn't hang out with a lot of the elementary kids he went to school with. I can say almost hasn't been had a sleepover, doesn't go to movies really with them. It's all been the friends that he's met in junior high. He's not he's gone out for some sports because some of the new friends have asked him to, and he's tried those things. He does the morning workouts because his friends do. I said, do you want to go out for football at West to meet some? No, I don't want to go. He is not excited about going to high school now, which I find is very sad, you know, when he's a good student. I have another kid in 7th grade and a kid in 5th grade who will go to West. I was willing to have kids at different high schools because each kid is an individual, you know, and I think you should allow parents to look at their kids individually and sometimes make some of these decisions, because I think parents might know what's good for their kids too. And I know we have hard decisions on what's going on, but not all those people wanted to transfer into Liberty. Some people had older siblings that were going to West. They said they had to go to West. You know, I understand that, but it just seems like next board meeting you can make a motion and reverse it. And so it's really frustrating as a parent to have to talk to your kids about things. When, you know, in 2 years, it's a transition year. 2 years, my 6th graders, they'll be a straight feeder system, pretty much, until, you know. But in these transition years, there's very few people who are wanting to change. I mean, for whatever reason they want to change, out of the whole 4,000 kids in high school, what was there, 115 or something that want to change? Let them change. I mean, is it really going to make that much difference in the whole high school? And I know it's 2019, it's going to be overcrowded, but those junior and senior classes aren't going to be overcrowded. It's the freshman and sophomore. So freshman kids don't take senior classes. So are the same classes going to be offered at City and West for juniors and seniors? Because the class sizes are going to be different for those juniors and seniors. And if you allow someone from a different district to transfer into Liberty High School and you don't take someone from your district, I think that is completely wrong. And also, when West was closed because of overcrowding, if you moved in the West District, you had to go to City. So does that mean if you move into North Liberty and you have a high school kid, they're going to go to City or West because you're going to be overcrowded? I do understand it's a hard decision. It's just been frustrating for us as a family because we have kids in this transition period. And they'll be fine.
Thanks.
Life goes on. It'll be fine, but I just wanted to...
Thanks, Jen. Thank you for everybody participating in community comments. Next item on the agenda is district consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
Yeah, I had a point of order and a item I wanted to pull. On the point of order, on the personnel area, are we still getting administrative hires and reallocations in that area, or are we no longer getting that?
All new hires come through the personnel agenda.
Okay, and when someone's reassigned, we'll get that through as well?
The personnel agenda includes new hires. When someone has a new position in the district, whether they're certified staff or support staff, that frequently does not come through the personnel agenda because it's not a new hire.
Okay, so a reassign of an administrative level person wouldn't be on there?
Not necessarily, no.
And the item I wanted to pull was 16. So I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda less item 16.
And just to confirm, 16 is the fire and alarm?
Yep.
Yep. Is there a second? Phil, the bills,
Yeah, I went through those. Yeah, everything, there was quite a few since we had the week off. We kind of had to get caught up on that, so there was a lot of things in there. At some point in time, we should have a discussion on the cost of the North Dodge storage facility and that, because it's substantial in that. But other than that, everything's straightforward.
All right, thanks. Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thanks, Kim. I think we all know this, but we have a busy night tonight, primarily in the work session, I think. But I think the board work session is pretty straightforward, so I'm going to try to keep us moving through that, so if that's all right. So next item on the agenda is the Promise of Iowa. And the Promise of Iowa is a statewide campaign to build support for public education. There's 100 districts that have already passed a resolution of support. And I tend to think we should go right to a motion of support. And I'd entertain that motion.
Okay. I don't have to read the whole thing, do I?
I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution of support in the packet.
I move that we approve the resolution of support that's in the board packet. It's a long resolution.
Second. Discussion?
I'll just say that at IASB we had a good portion of the meeting, the General Assembly, devoted to a discussion about Promise of Iowa and trying to create a unified front among all 330 plus school districts in the state. And it is important, perhaps now more than ever, that we are all on the same page. So.
Well, it's very aligned with our strategic plan. It's very aligned with our legislative priorities. And like you say, it's more about getting everybody speaking with similar voice. So.
I'm probably not going to vote for this. I'm all in favor of increased funding for the schools. I'm just looking through the materials, and I'm not entirely clear on what I'm endorsing if I vote for this. Some of the language in some of the materials just make me wonder about what they're proposing. And, for example, it's all stated very innocuously, but improving public education takes strategic investment, targeting funding toward changes that improve results. Well, on the one hand, it's hard to argue with that, but if that means strings are attached to the money, I just don't know what it means. Local schools need greater flexibility from burdensome restrictions. Well, I might agree with that if there's a specific. But I also know the IASB, apparently, according to the Register, is urging changes in the arbitration rules. I don't know what those changes are. I don't know what that agenda is when it comes to collective bargaining, and so I'm just reluctant to sign on to that.
All right, further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with directors Deloach, Rotland, Kirschling, Lynch, and Ressler voting yea, and directors Liebig and Hemingway voting nay.
And Steve, could we ask you, it's probably a Kristen question, but issue a press release and just communicate to the ISB that we've passed this resolution?
We can do that tomorrow.
All right, thanks. I disagree with that. Next item on the agenda is the IASB Boardsmanship Award. And Brian, I think you were going to.
Yeah, I think I had asked for this a couple months ago to come on the agenda. The Better Boardsmanship and the Boardsmanship Awards, Basics of Boardsmanship Awards. It was nice this year to I guess get to receive the awards for three of our members. Director Rotland and Director Lynch and myself were recipients. And in last year, when we had a majority of our members get the Better Boardsmanship Award, we received the board award, which only goes to a select few districts in the state. So, granted, we only had 6 members for a good portion of last year, but I think that when it comes to attending and improving our understanding of our board role, board superintendent team, of our legislative advocacy. I know Director Rotland and I both went to Des Moines last year. you know, these are positive things, and I was happy to. I was sad that I was the only person in the picture, but I was happy to have all to collect the awards for all three of us, and I hope that next year that we can get the board award, even though I won't probably be here anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Congratulations, Lori and Brian.
Absolutely, congratulations.
Anything else on this topic? Who wanted hardware too, by the way? I don't know.
Yeah, Kim, you've got the hardware.
It's in the folder at your
Oh,
spot.
okay. Thought he was holding back on us. So, all right. Anything else on this topic? Further discussion? All right. Next item on the agenda is superintendent directions 3J5 and 6. And if you recall, this I think is our third or fourth time we've had this in front of the board. Last time it was here, we sent it to P&G for final language, and then I think we've had multiple reports from our schools on pretty dramatic improvement. So, I don't know, Brian, do you want to take us through what P&G did in the final version here?
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to address was take away barrier language and really look at opportunity language. So we had a couple discussions about this, and I think we've got it worded in a way that that we can focus on addressing access to opportunity gaps for students with basically, we're just changing the language from barriers to opportunity gaps, essentially. But there is we talk about our aspirational goals when it comes to, especially in 3J6, when it comes to the weighted resource allocation model. This gives us policy that backs up the RAM. And gives us targets for class sizes for K through 2, 3 through 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, so on and so forth. If anybody else from P&G has anything to add about our discussion, certainly feel free to chime in. But
I just want to say RAM for people that may not know as well.
Weighted resource allocation model. Sorry.
I think it's a little bit more than just switching it from barriers to opportunity. I think it's kind of a hope and a desire for us to move from less of a deficit mindset about how we talk about our students and more about how these are opportunities for us to provide access to things that they may not have. So I think hopefully overall as a district, we can continue to move from that, because some of that has just been ingrained for years to kind of see these kids as a deficit to the district or as a weight, and we want to be able to change that perception not only just in word but also in deed and how we are going forth and how we're working with our families who have different opportunities and access issues.
I get a motion on the table, or do you want to discuss?
I have a question, if I could. When we had looked at this the last time, I had asked a question or made a suggestion that we define what average is, whether that's +5, -5 of the district average. What is low, what is high? I'm just curious, did the committee discuss that, and why did you decide, or did you not discuss it? Did you decide to leave that out?
That's a good question. I actually, I don't recall us working on defining the plus or minus. I really don't. This was granted before holiday break, but I really don't.
Well, I think there were, I'm just trying to replay the tapes, but I think we had numbers in there at one point. But I think and I don't know if the challenge gets into it's looking at 3 different areas, right? ELL, special ed, and social economic status. So it just becomes complicated. I don't know.
Yeah,
because at one point we had numbers and then we took them out.
I mean, following up on that, it's unclear to me whether you're adding the 3 statuses or you're just counting a number of kids who fall into any one of those 3 statuses, or I didn't quite know how to read that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Well, there's overlap between the 3, English learner, special education learner, socioeconomic learner. So I assume you're not just adding those numbers together, because then you're double counting some kids or maybe even triple counting some kids. And so is the number that you're looking at in the end, is it just the number of kids in that school who fall into any one of those 3 categories divided by the total number of kids in the school? Or are we looking independently at the 3 different, and if any one of them is too high, then that qualify? I'm not clear on how
Are you talking about 3J5 or 3J6?
5 and 6.
5 and 6.
How do you decide if you're in what is the numerator and the denominator that tells you whether you're in the low, average, or high? I assume the denominator is total number of kids in the school. What's the numerator? What is that number?
if I understand correctly, what you're getting at, the percentages are based on total student body.
Total student body is the denominator, but what are you dividing by that number? I mean, are you picking the number of kids who fall into any one of these categories? Is that the top number?
You look at all three separately.
All three separately.
What does it mean to look at all three separately? What if one of you brings you into the average range, but one of them doesn't?
That's the discussion administration we need to have.
Hmm?
It's a discussion administration we need to have in terms of...
I see what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm just not understanding it.
Again, I think we talked initially about, do you want to get into a bunch of numbers and be very driven, or do you want to talk kind of high-level policy? I think we landed it.
And one of the reasons for choosing the words aspirational goals is because they're not hard targets. It's not like if one is above and one is below.
I'm talking more about 6 than 5. No, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
And average changes over time, and what might be low changes over time, what might be high changes over time. But I was fine either way.
That much I'm with you on.
Huh?
That much I'm with you on. I just I'm having trouble figuring out what that numerator is in the calculation, or whether we're doing 3 different calculations for each status.
Is there a formula that we're using?
We look at each of the schools and we look at each of those identified areas, students that qualify for English language learner programming, those that qualify for special ed programming, and then using that USD approved socioeconomic learner status definition. So we look at each of those 3 for each school and each elementary school. And then there isn't necessarily a threshold that we look at, but we will look at each of those across all 20 elementary schools and determine which schools have the greatest access to opportunity gaps in each of those categories. And it's not uncommon, as Chris said, because we have many kids that may qualify for more than one of those areas of assistance, that in this case this year, when Amy and I went through it, the 6 schools that had the greatest access to opportunity gaps were clearly different than the other schools in the district, the other 14 schools in the district. There was a clear demarcation point between the 6 that had the highest access to opportunity gaps in each of those 3 categories when looked at independently and then on aggregate.
So Steve, is it this specific enough for you to execute the directive?
It provided us that opportunity to differentiate between those with the greatest access to opportunity gaps and those with the least.
So it's sufficient?
It works this year, yes.
Yep.
I still have questions too about how it works at the secondary level. I mean, if all 3 of our secondary buildings, I guess they can't all be below average, but you know, if they're all at a relatively low number, does that imply there will be no resource reallocation going on within the school? Because presumably within the school there are some rooms with higher access to opportunity gaps than others, and some courses that might have
That's correct. We have not done an implementation at the secondary level yet. We did an implementation at the elementary level this year for certified staff, and so we have been walking through how to apply this at the secondary level. And just as you indicated, it's obviously on a building by building level. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you have 2 high schools or 3 junior highs in terms of who's average high or low. And because of the way the secondary schools are staffed, at the elementary schools, obviously we've got individual classrooms by grade level. At the secondary schools, you have kids traveling from classroom to classroom each class period. And so we're still working on how to implement that at the secondary level. We don't have a model prepared yet.
You know, I'm all in favor of the weighted resource allocation model, and I know that we're already doing it in a lot of ways. I might vote no on this just because I'd like to clarify a few things, and if it were up to me, I'd send it back for some clarification, but I don't want that to be interpreted as opposition to the program, and since we're already doing it, I don't get the sense I'm holding up anything.
Just a quick question is, what would need to be clarified on there? Like, would you want it spelled out X, Y, and Z equals average? I mean, like,
well, I guess I'd like, you know, I'd feel better if it said, you know, we're going to take the total number of kids who fall into that category in your school, and we're going to divide that by the number of kids in your school.
So you want the
and
formula.
then we're going to, you know, that's the number. We're going to be deciding what's average, what's below average, what's above average. I'd like to clarify what Director Rotland said about, you know, what exactly, how big a range is the average range. And I'd like to get some clarification on just, you know, how that works at the secondary level, and how, you know, regardless of how the schools stand relative to each other, high, low, average, we still might need to do some reallocation within the buildings.
I'd like to get this approved in policy, and if we want to approve it, fine. I have no problem with that. But it's been here 3 or 4 more times, and I'd entertain a motion.
I'll be happy to make the motion since it's coming from our committee. So I would move that the board approve the superintendent directions 3J5 and 3J6 as included in the packet.
Second.
Further discussion?
I guess my follow-up question, and I mean, I understand and I completely, I wonder a little bit about if we start breaking this down so far and we start rolling into the administrative role from supposedly making this more kind of higher level board policy for a superintendent, is that going to, I don't know, sometimes I worry sometimes about how far is too far, about how specific. I mean, being specific can be helpful, but then it can also hurt us too sometimes. So I think it's okay to, if we want to look at just cleaning this up with what is that average plus or minus, similar to what Director Rowland is stating, but I worry a little bit about trying to actually come up with a specific calculation of how we do this, because some of the, and I worry about discretion always, but some of this has to be up to the discretion of the folks that are having to do those intricate pieces of the placement of kids. And so, it's just kind of a tricky thing. I'm never opposed to cleaning up and making things better, but we worked pretty hard on this, and I'm all right where it is. And if we need to bring it back another year or whatever, then that's fine, or we can keep cleaning it up, whatever.
I just want to say I had high expectations for the ways of the resource model, and I think what we've heard back so far from reports from the schools has been outstanding. I think it's exceeded expectations. So I'm excited. You know, the only disappointment is it'll probably take a year or two to really see the results. That's just the way the lag works. But I think the way it's been working this year has been great, and I just want to keep it up. And I think the way to keep it up is get in policy. So.
Is there any opportunity here that after a year or so, maybe 2 years of, this comes back every 3 years?
Every 3 years.
Okay.
Exactly, yep.
So, because there may be some opportunity here in the next couple of years, because we'll have more information from the secondary about how well this is working or not. If we want to make some more major tweaks to this, maybe there is an elementary and secondary chart here about what this looks like. But there are aspirational, so it's not firm. About what the exact number has to be, because sometimes that's not possible when we've already discussed that about space in our schools. So, yeah.
All right, further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with Directors Deloach, Rotland, Kirschling, Lynch, and Ressler voting yea, and Liebig and Hemingway voting nay.
Thanks, Kim. Steve, anything else you need from us?
Nope.
Next item on the agenda is liaison reports, and that's just a written update, so you can see that in the packet. Moving on, next update is negotiations update, Steve.
I'm going to turn that over to Jane.
We'll keep this very quick, too. Now that the Iowa legislators are back into session, we're hoping that there'll be some decisions that will be coming sooner than later this year. We're in the process of putting the negotiations teams together, and we're looking forward to starting those conversations with the SEIU and the ISEA. As Brady had mentioned earlier, we are looking forward to sitting down at the table and discussing all the things that we want to do for our teachers and ultimately for our kids. So we'll keep you posted as we move forward with that. Thank you.
All right, questions for Jane or Steve? Next item on the agenda is legislative update, Steve.
Sure, there's a summary of the topics that we covered at the Friday Legislative Forum on December 16th. And because it's fresh. I also have just a couple of quick updates on the Governor's State of the State address today. So certainly if you've got questions on any of the content from Friday, Directors Lynch and Hemingway were there, and I would defer to them to offer any initial comments. I'd be more than happy to answer any additional comments.
I think Brian was there too, but.
Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry, Brian, you were there too. I forgot about that.
Obviously, I left a mark.
The governor today provided his State of the State. Probably the highlight of that was something that he's been talking about in the press, which is a recommendation of 2% supplemental state aid each year for the next 2 years. He did highlight several things that he sees as positive in the Iowa economy during his latest term of service. Drop in unemployment from 6.2 to 3.8%, attracting $13.5 billion in private sector capital investment. Claimed that more Iowans have been employed the past few years than in any other period in our state's history. He also cited significant tax relief provided over the past 5 years. In terms of education reforms, he cited the Teacher Leadership Initiative and Lieutenant Governor Reynolds' work on STEM. As Brady already mentioned, he talked about moving to a comprehensive statewide health care contract for all public employees. He made I think, which is a really good comment, which ties into our legislative priorities, that there's a clear link between education, skill development, skill gaps in our workforce. He cited his goal for the Future Ready Iowa, that we would have 70% of Iowans in the workforce with training beyond high school by 2025. We're currently less than half. He's very interested in computer science and talked about that at both the high school, junior high, and elementary level, something that we are currently doing at both the high school and junior high level, and at the elementary level we're providing hour of code opportunities for kids. So many of the things that he's referenced in there are things that the district is already moving forward with. In addition to that, he mentioned specifically some of the work that's going on with the Teacher Leadership Program and how that's moving from outside to inside the categorical funding process, such that it no longer has a differential impact on how the supplemental state aid monies are allocated. He did talk specifically about looking for areas for $114 million in de-appropriations, and at this point in time, none of those come out of K-12 funding. He also talked about some additional areas of focus in reading, coaching, and professional learning, early literacy, early warning system, child development and at-risk appropriations, and reading, coaching, and professional learning. So there are some opportunities there for us to work with the proposals, some opportunities certainly to provide some benefit to students in the district. So the next step in that process for us as a district will be an opportunity in February to work with our DPO through the UEN Day at the Capitol. We've got a delegation that's planning on attending on Wednesday, February 15th. So we'll have a program prior to with various presenters, and then we'll have an opportunity to go over and visit with legislators. We just finished completing the brochure for that today, or the flyer for that today. We'll be distributing that at the DPO tomorrow, and I'll be providing a copy to each of you too, so that if you're able, you are certainly welcome and encouraged to attend with us.
Excuse me, any questions for Steve?
I just hope with the February 15th that we can get a large group. I think it was nice last year. We had a really good sized group of parents and educators and a couple of us board members, and I think that our legislators were impressed by that. So call to folks sitting here in the room, because the funding that comes from Des Moines greatly affects what we're able to do for our kids here in the district.
All right, thanks, Steve. Before we leave work session, I just want to thank our students at Kirkwood and Lucas for providing the artwork in the boardroom. So thank you to Kirkwood and Lucas. Next item on the agenda is timeout rooms. And on December 13th, we had a work session on this, and the board asked Steve and administration. We discussed and agreed to commissioning a team to look at best practices and what's happening out there with seclusion or timeout rooms, and come back with improvement suggestions up to and including elimination if that's appropriate. Steve reported out the district had been spending time internally looking at current practices and processes, included the entire spectrum up into elimination. And we discussed the makeup of the team and a timelining on implementing, which we were kind of the sooner the better. And that the end product would be a recommendation or a district policy. So I think tonight we want to just come back with a update on where we're at in the process and what we might be thinking in terms of timeline and all that good stuff. So, Steve?
Sure. So one of the big components that was discussed at the work session was the formation of a committee, similar to the process we use with the Transition Services program. And Jane has been working on that, and she's going to give you just a brief update on process for committee formation and a brief idea about timelines for opportunities to start meeting and get some results back.
Thank you. We've been looking at both experts within our own community and also within our own staff, and also trying to make sure that we get a committee that's not so big that we can't hear from everybody and people aren't given provided an opportunity to be heard, but also broad enough that we get expert opinion along with people that are actually living and breathing this with their children every day. So we've got folks that are part of our challenging behavior team here within the district. We have representation from the DE, from the AEA, from the Center of Disabilities and Development at the University of Iowa. We have some parent participant. We have members from some of our local committees, our autism committee. We have a few other parent organizations within the district that we're trying to solicit some parent participation from. We have some district administrators who have supervised and overseen some of the programs where timeout rooms are a part of those programs, and we'll be looking at identifying some teachers that will participate as well. We had a suggestion of a process that was used by another committee within the district, the Climate Survey Task Force, in a process that would provide an application process so that we can enable a cross-section of the community to have an opportunity to have a voice and to participate in this, so we do have a broader swipe. So that's what we've gotten so far. I have confirmation from 11 members so far. We're waiting. Kingsley is helping support me in identifying that parent group to participate. Our goal is to have that team confirmed and hopefully set up an introductory meeting with that group before the end of the month, and then we'll set a timeline from there. We want to make sure that we are planful, that we look at all of the options, we look at research, and I think the people that we have that are willing to participate in that will be able to provide that. And also understanding that this piece is part of a broader plan. We have the group, the implementation team that is part of the corrective action plan that is also looking at this piece along with the professional development that goes along with creating quality functional behavioral assessments and the positive behavior plans, along with PD for our teachers, with the ultimate goal of reducing the use of seclusion, timeout, and physical intervention. So that all fits into one thing, but the particular spaces that we're using is what we're having this group take a look at. So when and if are these spaces necessary, and what should those spaces look like?
So Jane, just to build on so if somebody wanted to apply, how do they do that?
Kingsley will be sending that out, and Latasha may be able to respond to that specific process a little more specifically, but that's the goal, is to send all that out to give people the opportunity to fill out that application. So he has initiated that through.
Okay.
Yep, he is.
But
if he was here tonight, I'd turn that over to him, but he's supporting me in that piece.
So it's probably going to be on the webpage or, okay.
Just my one note, just in that what you're looking at, please include disproportionality.
Yes, that's also, and that's a huge data piece that the implementation team will be reviewing as well. Okay. Thank you.
So when do you think you'll be able to start? When do you think you'll be able to start and finish? How about that?
Start and finish. Well, I think one of and I know this was just an idea thrown out, was like a 6-month time frame, but I think we'd like to have that done before the end of the school year so that it can be woven into our corrective action plan that we're hoping to have pretty much completed by the end of the school year as well.
Yeah, I'll look to the board, but I think a good stretch objective might be 3 months after you start. I mean, if you start, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We've had a number of committees come back, and now you can decide, maybe come back with an interim review and go, hey, it's going to take longer, but I think it's great. Definitely want to be done by the end of the school year, so by the next school year, if there's any facility, changes we need to make. We can-
Exactly.
I mean, changing procedure is easy, right? That can happen like tomorrow, but if there's physical changes, then we'd want to have some time to get that done.
Well, and the procedure piece along with the training piece for our staff too, to make sure that we have everybody with the skill set that they need to be able to implement those
I'm just trying to be
changes.
specific then. If you're going to try to get back by the end of school, so you get back by May.
Yes.
With the structure objective of April.
That would be great, considering that if we get everybody together at the end of this month, really doesn't, we're looking at
'cause
probably
you may have
starting the actual work next
February
month.
1st or
Mhm,
something. So you
mhm.
have February, March, a little bit of April.
Yep.
Can you give us a sense of, are any changes happening in the meantime? Or how is it being handled in the meantime?
In the meantime, it is continuing the work that we started at the beginning of the year with the additional training for staff with that along with the improvements and the retrain with the functional behavioral assessments and the BIPs. We've got our behavior strategists and experts going out and providing targeted training to our teaching staff. We are looking at improving the supports we're providing for the kids so that we, again, keep this as a last resort for safety only. And better tracking of forms, yes, thank you. So we also are as we get those reports coming in, that those are reviewed individually, and if they are, we need more information that wasn't completed during that time, we call the buildings back, or our behavior strategists go back out to those buildings to make sure that those are complete. Because as we start looking at all that data, we want as clear a picture as we can get, and we want it to be accurate. And that's been improved greatly over the last few months.
And Jane, if you need anything from us, just let us know, right? So we can get on a work session or a board agenda, and it's probably good, maybe halfway. Maybe we have a work session update or something.
Yeah, I would appreciate having that time to update everyone as well.
And I'm assuming those meetings will be open to the public and the schedule will be posted where interested parties could attend and listen.
The schedule may be the trickiest part of all of it, just because of the people that we're trying to pull from different agencies. So we'll make sure we get that information out.
And will those committees be recorded and?
I'm sure we'll take minutes from that, yeah.
Okay.
Further discussion, other questions? Well, thanks. Great progress and, over the holiday period and getting things rolling.
Thank you. I'm looking at this group, and it's a great group. I think we're going to get a lot done.
That's what we're hoping for, exactly. All right, thanks, Jane. Moving into operational work, the next item on the agenda is the bond sale. Craig?
We have in front of you this evening the second portion of the $21,185,000 issuance under our sales tax for the completion of our projects identified in the facility master plan. As you recall, at your December meeting, you dealt with the first $10 million of that. The reason we split it apart is to take advantage of an IRS rule that allows us to issue $10 million in any given year under what's called a bank qualified note, and as such, we were able to achieve a lower interest rate, roughly 30 basis points lower, by going that route. So it saves us interest costs on the overall loan, and that's why it was split apart. So tonight, it's the same procedure. The same four motions are in front of you. Leslie outlined those motions on the cover sheet at the bottom, and you can handle those all with one motion this evening. But it's the same process to finalize the second portion of that issuance.
Entertain a motion.
Director Liebig, you did such a good job with the resolution last time.
I'm still catching up on the 4 things.
So just to be clear, the motion has to have the specific wording that's here.
We will put the specific wording in if you just want to say as listed.
That might be
good. I move that we approve the bond sale with the specifications as listed in the board packet.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Like Craig said, we really already talked this in December. We're really just executing the second part of it, right? So.
Right.
For discussion, Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thanks, Kim. Next item on the agenda is Appendix 9. Dwayne?
Thank you. We have 5 projects for your consideration this evening. The first one is the Bates Field bleachers. We have a Step 9 request to pay the retainage of $16,277.40, and Step 10 to accept the project as all outstanding items have been completed. The next 3 we can kind of roll together, and a little background of this would be helpful. We started this project as a small project in Pebble Life Cycle, and because of the scope and the potential cost, we decided to move it to Appendix 9. So we collapsed the design process. In fact, in your packet tonight, or you have an attachment that shows the design for that building. The other objective was to design a building that can be used as a standard building across the district. We have a lot of small storage buildings that are basically residential garages or even metal sheds from Menards. And during the past summer, we removed 2 storage sheds at Hills, and we did considerable damage to a metal shed at Coralville Central. And the leaders of North Liberty asked us to remove the 3 temporary buildings we have in the parking lot at North Central. So we started the initiative to design a building that was more industrial, commercial. It's actually a masonry building with brick veneer. The design for that, we contracted with, or requesting the contract be approved with Newman Monson, and that $10,000 is for all 3 buildings, not $10,000 per building. So Step 2 is the contract, 3, 4, and 5 are the design documents, and then Step 6 is to set the public hearing for February 2nd. Or, excuse me, January 24th, and the bid for those projects would be the 2nd of February. And then the last one is the roof management project. We're designing our summer projects as we do every year for building envelopes. We have a number of brick masonry tuck pointing type projects, window projects around the district, and that the design is for that. Those drawings are available to the physical plan if you're interested. And again, Step 6 to set the public hearing, and the bid date for that will be February 15th. With that, I'd answer any questions you might have.
So, Dwayne, the storage buildings, it'd be like what we have at Gardner?
And very similar to Gardner. Matter of fact, that was kind of the template that we started with. It's a masonry building. It has an exposed concrete block. Over the lifespan, maybe of 15, 20 years, you get a lot of what we call effervescence. The salts and the mortars start to come through, and it's difficult to keep those looking good. So we added the brick veneer, but basically that's the same building.
And basically the use is operational stuff. You said lawn stuff, snow
Yeah,
removal.
a lot of the bigger buildings, particularly like North Central, they have their own snow blowers and some of that type of stuff that they store, but there's a lot of athletic equipment at North Central that they store out there, track, football, those types of things. So it's a shared building, part operational physical plant equipment, part school equipment.
Thanks.
How big are those buildings?
They're like 24, 25 by 36, pretty good size.
You have a 25 by 36, and what's your do you have an idea ballpark what's going to cost?
Yeah, I was asked that question earlier, and I don't have a good answer for you. I really think that they'll be less than $25,000 a piece.
Okay.
That's just kind of the high-end cost.
Okay, and it's a prefab structure.
Oh, no, it's a concrete block and brick structure. It's with a coil door for the entrance, a heavy steel door for the walk-in door. It's got a wood roof frame system with a metal roofing on top of that. Pretty low maintenance.
Okay. On the bleachers at City High, it's on the east side bleachers. Didn't we just put those in new?
Yes. Last summer.
Right. And
Yeah,
we're
that's
still- and we're
completed.
having to put, is any of that under warranty?
Well, sure, it remains under warranty. But what this does, it sets a warranty date, and we can move forward. But, yeah, the work's completed. That's what this is for.
Okay.
To establish that it's been completed.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, entertain a motion.
I move we approve Appendix 9 requests as presented in the.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Newman Munson, are they the ones we had the tolling agreement with?
At Van Allen? Yes, Van Allen, yes. Yeah, they've done a couple projects since that. They've done Lucas, they're doing that Lucas right now, doing a nice job. So we've done other work with them since that. And they successfully completed that tolling agreement at Van Allen.
Further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thanks, Kim. Next item is the consent withdrawal, item 16. Phil?
Yes, it's concerning, it's been brought to my attention by some staff at some of our buildings that are, I guess our entry alarms were not functional. Can you just explain, and you did send me some answers to the question. So you're saying every building has an alarm system, it's just the staff hasn't been trained how to use it?
There was the recent go-around of, I think it was like phase 4A or 4B of the safety and security, completed the burglar alarm upgrades and systems in all of our buildings. So every building has one that's functional. What has not taken place is the last 3 or 4 schools have not been trained on how to use those systems. And in fact, some schools have them and choose not to use them, which is something we need to get on top of. But they're all functional, they all have one.
What's keep preventing us from training the staff and making it 100%?
Nothing, it's just getting it done. We'll get her done. I was made aware of that, so we'll get her.
Okay.
Entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we approve item 16 from the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with directors Liebig, Deloach, Rotland, Kirschling, Lynch, and Ressler voting yea and Hemingway voting nay.
Thanks, Kim. Next item on the agenda is agenda setting. There's potentially 4 meetings on the 24th. First was an exempt session kicking off negotiations. I think we set that at 5:15 for now. And in the board meeting, you can see the agenda. Steve, I know we got facilities master plan. I guess we can decide if we need the GO bond or if it's...
Yeah, I think the request was that we put it on there as a standing item, and then the board would decide at each agenda setting whether to continue it or to move it if they needed to.
Probably should just add the GO bond just to, make sure we're clear, even though it's...
One of the things that may come up during that discussion is the location of the proposed North Elementary School. I guess it's a whole different topic, but if we do decide a different place for it, and if that's part of our discussion of the facilities master plan, do we have to start putting boundaries on the agenda?
Oh, it's a choice, yeah.
So I'll just throw it out there. It doesn't have to happen that night, I suppose, but it's kind of wrapped up in the same issue.
Anything else?
Is that a FMP decision? Is that where that falls?
Well, the timing would be an FMP decision, and then you have to look at all the other things that would be impacted.
But the decision to move the location of the school, does that fall under that agenda item? Is that?
But I think Chris is asking about boundaries as well.
Yeah, I know that he's asking about boundaries, but I'm wondering just in general, the timing on that decision and where that falls, if that's a separate agenda item, how that.
No, it'd be under the facilities master plan.
Okay. Is there a time frame that we're looking at for? Maybe we can't talk that.
I guess we'll talk in the work session.
Okay.
Yes, January 24th.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Yes, we would ideally have some resolution either at the end of the board meeting, but more likely at the end of the work session on the 24th.
Yeah, and we can talk that more tonight, right? I think this agenda is pretty full because you got the climate survey, enrollment, FMP, and GO bond's going to keep us busy enough.
Yeah, just a reminder that this is the start of the agenda or the budget setting process. So Craig goes over the budget,
Oh,
short
yeah.
budget review and the assumptions that we use to build it. So perhaps this year, unlike other years, we might have a little bit better idea of what's going on by January 24th in terms of supplemental state aid. So those are all pieces that'll come in as part of item number 3 there under operational work.
This is a pretty full agenda, though, as it is, right? We've got a couple things we had on the parking lot for work sessions. Sorry, I'm segueing on to the next meeting. Board work sessions was the one-to-one computer policy and cell phone. Guess if we have time, and then operations committee, it depends.
For the work session, I wouldn't mind just getting a brief update on where things stand with IPM, because it just seems to have disappeared.
IPM.
Sorry.
And, you know, if we keep putting the topics on the work session, then we don't need operations, but that's, you said one you wanted to talk, Phil.
Excuse me?
Was your one topic was?
Oh, well, we want to get the grounds, operation cost, a review on that again. And I'm trying to remember. I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
Well, just remind me later.
Right, and we're talking that for when?
Well, it could be the 24th, although what's tended to happen is between the board meeting and our work sessions, they've pushed out the operations, so.
Gotcha.
At some point, we'll need to, again, I think we've been putting the topics on the work session, so that's fine.
All right.
The whole board's been there, that's fine.
Okay.
So maybe now we just add them to the work session and just have a work session and
Yeah.
we just all do it together. The topics we're talking to aren't like real long ones, so.
Right.
If we're together, we might as well just do it. Okay, we've got 3 facility master plan listening posts planned. We've got a student listening post planned, and then maybe next meeting we can try to set the retreat. I haven't looked at the doodle poll. I know we got a doodle poll out on looking at doing that when the weather's not very nice in February. But maybe next agenda setting we can talk that. Anything else on our agenda setting? For those who are here, we'll commission the work session immediately following this meeting in the back. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.